She won't need it where she's going. A voice sneered beside me. The words cut through the fog in my mind like a razor through silk. I couldn't move, couldn't open my eyes, but something inside me sparked at the sound. Recognition. Not of the words, but of the voices. My husband's voice. Ethan. And then, unmistakably, Barbara, his mother. That cold, sharp laugh she always tried to hide behind fake warmth. She always kept everything locked up, Ethan muttered. But I told you, she wrote down her password somewhere. She's a creature of habit. You were right, Barbara said. Once I got into her office, it was like breaking into a piggy bank. She's got money stashed everywhere. Pensions, mutual funds, even that college fund for your niece. Not that she need it now. They both laughed again, low and bitter. Darkness. Swallowed the rest of their words, but the fire had been lit. The next time I opened my eyes, the light was stabbing. Harsh, fluorescent, unforgiving. My body felt like cement had poured into every muscle. My throat was dry, my chest heavy. I didn't know how long I'd been there or where there even was. A nurse leaned over me, her eyes wide as they locked. On mine, her badge read Maya. Mrs. Monroe, can you hear me? Her voice was soft but urgent. Don't try to talk. Just blink once for yes. I blinked. And then the tears came. You've been in a coma, Rachel. 2 months. This is amazing. You weren't supposed to. She stopped herself. Let me call Dr. Patel. 2 months, it didn't make sense. The last thing I remembered was dinner, homemade risotto. Ethan had poured the wine. Barbara had insisted on bringing dessert stuffed mushrooms, which I never ate because of my allergy. Then nothing, now here I was. In a hospital bed, my body a shell, my mind a storm. Dr. Patel. Arrived in a blur of footsteps and disbelief. Lights in my eyes, questions, observations, tests ordered. Reactions noted, but I couldn't stop thinking about those voices. That laughter. Later, when Maya came in again, I managed to croak out a few broken syllables. My husband. Stealing. Her. Face froze for just a moment. Then she pulled the privacy curtain halfway around the bed. I thought something was off, she whispered. They come during the shift change, always when the staff's turning over. I've heard them talking. And not like people grieving. She reached into her scrubs and pulled out her phone. I probably shouldn't show you this. But I've worked here for 6 years and some things you just don't ignore. Photos, dozens of them, bank statements, cruise bookings, a credit card bill for a 5-star resort in Tulum, a transaction history from my personal savings account, an account only I had access to showing withdrawal after withdrawal. Ethan and Barbara had been bleeding me dry. I found most of these in the trash, Maya said. They don't even try to hide it. The betrayal settled over me like frostbite, numbing at first. Then came the burn, 15 years of marriage. A shared life, or so I thought. Vacations, birthdays, quiet nights. Watching TV on the couch. I'd loved him and he'd been waiting for the moment. I couldn't speak to start erasing me. It would have been easier to cry if I weren't so damn angry. By the next morning, the fog in my brain had cleared just enough to form a plan. Slowly, with Maya's help, I began to stitch together the timeline. Ethan and Barbara hadn't just acted out of grief. This had been calculated. They knew about my allergy. They'd brought those mushrooms knowing I'd never touch them unless something or someone had. Slipped one in without me noticing. Dr. Patel believed I needed rest. Maya knew better. I think you're stronger than they realize, she said. She was right. They thought I was silent. They thought I was gone. But I was listening. I was going to make sure they regretted every word they'd ever said. Before we jump in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. For the next 2 days, I pretended to be slipping in and out of consciousness. It wasn't easy. My body ached, my muscles barely responded, and the frustration of lying motionless while the people who tried to erase me kept showing up like clockwork nearly broke me. But I knew that timing mattered. If I acted too fast, they'd vanish before I could touch the truth. I needed to stay hidden in plain sight just a little longer. Maya became my lifeline. At 3:45 a.m. During our night shift, she slipped quietly into my room, checked the monitors, and closed the curtain. They were here again tonight, she whispered. He asked one of the interns about what paperwork needs to be filed in case of unforeseen decline. I pretended not to hear, but I recorded it. I'll upload it to the drive we set up. I nodded, just barely. Then came the next move. I need something from home. I rasped through cracked lips. What? My laptop. It's in my office, top drawer, the one with the lock. Maya's. Eyes narrowed. You sure? He doesn't go in there. He never has. The keys in my purse, the purple one they brought in with my personal effects. The next evening, Maya's younger brother, Jacob, a senior at the local college, dropped off a slim lock laptop bag. I recognized the scratches on the zipper immediately. It was mine, that night while Maya adjusted the floor and turned down the lights for the hallway rounds. I opened my laptop beneath the covers, fingers trembling. It took everything I had to sit upright for 15 minutes, but it was long enough. Passwords Ethan had never changed. Accounts he thought I'd forgotten them. Folders he thought were buried too deep. I opened a document named Personal Archive and found a full spreadsheet. Ethan had created rows of transfers, account numbers, and asset breakdowns categorized by date and bank. His arrogance was astonishing. Barbara had always called me obsessive for tracking every dime I earned. You'll make yourself crazy trying to remember every latte and parking ticket, she used to say with that tight-lipped smile. But now that meticulousness became my greatest weapon. I knew every cent I had. And now I knew where they'd tried to bury it. Most alarming was the transaction history of a trust fund I'd created years ago for my niece Emily, who was battling leukemia. Ethan had drained it, all of it. $70,000. Gone. And they hadn't stopped there. Credit card statements showed payments for a new luxury condo in Playa del Carmen billed directly to an account under a shell company tied to Barbara. Travel documents, prepaid excursions, and the cruise? That wasn't a last-minute escape. Babe booked it 5 months ago. 5 months, long before the accident. A shiver crawled up my spine. That night, I asked Maya to bring me a mirror. I needed to see what they'd hoped would disappear. My skin was pale, my eyes sunken, but the woman staring back wasn't broken. She was calculating. The next evening, Maya brought another gift. Not from me, but from the hospital cafeteria's lost and found, a cheap plastic phone charger. I told the desk it was for a patient's old Kindle, she said with a wink. With that, I connected my laptop and began copying every piece of evidence onto a secure drive. Years ago, I had built cloud redundancies for clients working in cybersecurity. Now I was using those same tools to protect myself. Ethan thought I was a fragile wife with a spreadsheet addiction. But what he forgot is that I used to work for a cybersecurity firm that trained banks how to detect financial fraud. By the end of the second week, I had enough evidence to crush them, but I needed help. Someone who understood this kind of digital footprint and could move with the same stealth. I had so I made a call. Not through the hospital lines, but through Maya's phone. After she switched SIM cards and used a secure network app, she handed me the phone, screen glowing, and on the other end of the line, a familiar voice answered. Rachel? It was Lena Cruz, my old colleague. I thought, oh my God, are you okay? Not yet, I whispered, but I'm getting there. I need your help. Lena didn't hesitate. The next night, dressed in borrowed scrubs and wearing a surgical mask, she slipped into my room. Behind the curtain, we hugged briefly, and then she set to work. Pulling a slim laptop and portable scanner from her bag, we worked in silence. Lena downloading copies of every file I compiled, sorting metadata, flagging suspicious trails, setting up backdoors that wouldn't trigger alerts if Ethan checked activity. Your husband's not just greedy, she said finally, eyes locked on the screen. He's sloppy. I've seen this before. This level of confidence only comes from people who've done it more than once. What do you mean? I asked. Lena turned the laptop to me. There, in Ethan's email archive, was a series of forwarded conversations between him and another woman. 2 years before we'd even met, she accused him of fraud. Said he drained her investments and ghosted her after proposing. He paid her off with 10 grand and made her sign an NDA. He's done this before, Rachel. He just picked a bigger fish this time. I stared at the screen, my stomach churning. Our wedding, the ring. The love at first sight stories we told everyone. Had it all been theater? The realization settled on me like stone, but I didn't crumble. Instead, I looked at Lena and said, let's burn it down. And I meant every word. Over the next 72 hours, we built a silent war room inside my hospital suite. Maya guarded the door like a hawk, covering for us during rounds, while Lena worked beside me, her fingers flying across the keyboard. The hospital bed became our battlefield. The forge ripped my camouflage. No one suspected the frail woman beneath the sheets was napping out a counterattack. Worthy of a corporate sting operation, each time Ethan and Barbara made a move from their floating palace of luxury, we tracked it. The cruise line's satellite. Internet created tiny digital footprints, receipts, reservations, Wi-Fi logins. Lena used their own spending habits against them, triangulating location data and timestamps to create a live trail. They were in Marseille 2 days ago. Yesterday, Rome. Today, somewhere off the coast of Sicily. They're living like royalty on your money, Lena muttered, dragging a new transaction into our timeline. Wine tastings, private tours, diamond shopping in Florence. They think they've already won, I said. Let's make sure they never see the checkmate coming. Meanwhile, I kept pushing my recovery. Maya smuggled in resistance bands and coordinated with a physical therapist on the 4th floor who owed her a favor. Every night after shift change, he came in under the pretense of monitoring my vitals and helped me rebuild what Ethan and Barbara had tried to destroy. 10 shaky steps became 20. My grip returned. The strength in my voice sharpened. My mind, though, had never faltered. By the 4th night, I was ready to take the first swing. We can't just track them, I told Lena. We need to hit them where it hurts. We started with the offshore accounts. Using Ethan's lazily recycled passwords, his college mascot, our wedding date, his dog's name, we accessed multiple shell corporations tied to international banks in the Cayman Islands, Belize, and Switzerland. I had the login credentials. Lena had the backdoors. One by one, we slipped in, took screenshots, documented balances, and extracted exact amounts equal to the funds they had stolen down to the last cent, $212,476 from the Cayman account, $76,000 from the Swiss retirement accounts they drained, $40,000 tied to Barbara's charity, which was nothing more than a tax shelter, and her maiden name. In total, nearly $350,000 money they believed was theirs to spend while I faded away was now safely transferred to secure accounts in my name under legal protection Lena had arranged through Carla Jensen, a former prosecutor turned white-collar defense attorney who owed Lena a favor. But we didn't stop there. They've spent almost 60 grand of it already, Lena said, reviewing the logs. Cruise upgrades, boutique hotels, jewelry. Let them keep the trinkets, I said. But the rest? I wanted to serve someone. Anyone but them. We selected 5 charities, one for financial fraud victims, another supporting long-term coma patients, one aiding women leaving abusive financial control, and 2 local groups supporting medical transparency and whistleblowers. We donated the leftover funds, just over $90,000 in their names. And I made sure the receipts, personalized with Ethan and Barbara's full names and home address, would be emailed directly to them on the same day their ship hit international waters with limited signal access. Salt in the wound, Lena said. Justice in their inbox. I replied. Then came the final puzzle piece. While Lena compiled the digital case, Maya handed me a sealed envelope. Billing sent this to your old address by mistake, she said. I intercepted it. It was from our mortgage lender. Inside, a notification confirming a change of ownership. The house Ethan and I had lived in for 12 years, my home, had been quietly transferred to a new LLC, one that Barbara owned. The paperwork included a notarized document with my forged signature. They weren't just stealing money. They were erasing me. I stared at the looping letters of my name. The way the R curved too tightly. The misplaced slant in the H. It was close, but not mine. I want him in prison, I said. You'll get more than that, Carla replied over video call. I've built cases on less. Between the forged documents, the medical records, and the financial trail, this is going to make headlines. Good, I said. Let the whole world know what they did to a woman who loved too much and trusted too long. By the time the Oracle reached its last European port before entering a 3-day dead zone of ocean, everything was in place. The bank freezes were initiated. The lawsuits had been filed. And the authorities were notified, with sealed warrants ready to execute the moment the ship docked. But I wasn't done yet. I want them to know it was me. I told Lena. The message we sent was simple, embedded inside the charity receipts. They'd receive mid-voyage, recovered, aware, waiting. Enjoy the rest of your cruise. Rachel that night, for the first time since I'd opened my eyes in the ICU. I fell asleep not as a victim, not as a patient, but as a storm that had been building quietly, one heartbeat at a time. The Oracle docked in Miami at 7:15 a.m. sharp by 7:27. Ethan Monroe and his mother Barbara were in handcuffs. They didn't even make it past customs. According to the report Maya forwarded me, Ethan had just scanned his passport when a uniformed officer stepped forward and asked to speak with him. Privately, Barbara, several feet behind him in line, began shouting the moment she saw another set of officers approach. She tried to bolt Tran 2 steps before slipping on the slick tile floor. When they searched her handbag, they found a flash drive loaded with account credentials and a folder of real estate documents, all forged. Meanwhile, I was sitting in the lobby of Carla Jensen's law office, sipping lukewarm tea with my legs crossed and a scarf over my head. It had been 21 days since I woke up from the coma, and I was no longer the same woman they had left for dead. I had traded the hospital gown for a fitted navy dress, the wheelchair for steady steps, the silence for resolve. They'd been transported to the county detention center, Carla said, setting her phone down. Multiple charges: attempted murder, financial fraud, forgery, wire fraud, identity theft. The day said your documentation made this one of the easiest indictments he's ever signed. I didn't smile. Not yet. Instead, I nodded and asked, "Can we begin the civil suit today?" Carla arched an eyebrow. "You don't waste time." "They didn't," I replied. The following week, I returned to the house that used to be mine, this time escorted by 2 officers and a locksmith. Inside, the decor hadn't changed. The framed photos were still on the wall. Our wedding picture in Maui, Christmas with Barbara holding a glass of spiked cider. Me smiling through it all, unaware that every detail of my life was part of a plan they'd orchestrated down to the minute. In Ethan's office drawer, we found the final pieces of the puzzle: his notebook. Passwords, timelines, notes written in code that, to anyone else, would look like nonsense. To me, they read like confession. One entry dated 3 months before the accident read, "Check allergy chart. Nystrom's mushrooms equals high potency. Research delivery method. Slip in during group dinner?" My hands didn't shake as I handed it to the officer. I'd done my crying, I'd done my screaming. I was past grief now. What I felt was colder, sharper, purposeful. Public reaction to the case was swift. The story hit local news first. Woman awakens from coma to uncover husband's murder plot and $350,000 theft. But it didn't stop there. By the end of the week, my inbox was flooded with messages, some from women who had gone through something similar, others from strangers who just wanted to say, "You gave me courage." I didn't feel brave. I felt responsible. I turned that responsibility into action. With Lena and Carla's help, I founded the Ledger Project, a nonprofit dedicated to helping victims of financial abuse, especially those targeted by partners or family members. We offered legal referrals, financial consulting, digital security audits, and most importantly, a place to be believed. Our first seminar had 12 women. By the end of the quarter, we had 200. A year later, we expanded to 3 cities. Meanwhile, the trial began. Ethan showed up in a cheap gray suit with a smirk that barely lasted the morning. The evidence was overwhelming. The forged documents, the poisoning, the money trail. Barbara, ever the performer, tried to paint herself as the concerned mother, but her email archives recovered by Lena betrayed her. "Make sure she takes it all this time," one message read. "We can't afford another close call." They were convicted on all counts. Ethan received 19 years. Barbara got 21. Neither of them looked at me as the sentence was read. I didn't need them to. I wasn't there for closure. I was there to show them what survival looked like. After the trial, I walked out of the courthouse alone, but I didn't feel alone. That evening, Maya dropped by my new apartment. She brought takeout in a small wrapped box. "I figured you deserved a first," she said. Inside was a pen, gold-plated, engraved with my name and the words, "She kept the receipts." I laughed. The sound surprised even me. For the first time in months, I felt light. I placed the pen on my desk, beside the framed photograph of me sitting upright in the hospital bed, laptop open, the glow of justice in my eyes. They thought I was too quiet, too trusting, too easy to erase. But what they never realized, what they never could understand, was that I didn't need to shout to be heard. All I needed was truth. A plan and the fire they tried to put out. And now? Now the whole world hears me.